put this shit on for you, big great?
We have had enough. We have had enough.
In the early morning hours of February 26, 2023, Oakland, California, was as quiet as ever. But on Edwards Avenue, the exit from Interstate 580, a discovery shocked the entire area. A passing driver saw a woman lying motionless on the side of the road and immediately called the police. When authorities arrived, they identified the victim as Laquetha Humphrey McCowan, 46, who had attended a party with her husband the night before. Notably, just hours before the tragedy, the husband admitted to leaving his wife on a deserted road after an argument. What started out as a seemingly normal evening quickly turned into a serious case, opening up a complex investigation journey. And then, the name that appeared in the final file shocked everyone, none other than the partner that Laquetha once trusted. From here, a dark story of family breakdown, suspicion, and secrets began to unfold, leaving a haunting impression on the community and public opinion. Laquetha Humphrey McCowan, 46, was remembered by the local community as a kind and approachable woman. Neighbors described her as someone who always had a smile on her face and easily made a good impression on anyone she met. In her family, Laquetha was considered a pillar of support, a person who kept the generations together. She spent most of her time with her children, paying attention to every little detail and trying to maintain a warm atmosphere in her home. To relatives and friends, Laquetha was always seen as a patient person who put the peace of her family above all else. Next to this gentle woman is a man whose life path is the complete opposite: Nathaniel McCowan, Laquetha's husband. At 49, Nathaniel has a complicated past. He has been involved in violent behavior on several occasions and was named in a file related to the death of a woman in the late 1990s. Although there was no formal conviction, the legacy of the incident still casts a shadow over his reputation in the community. That past has made Nathaniel a subject of discussion and somewhat contrasts with the gentle, patient persona that people see in Laquetha. On the surface, Laquetha Humphrey McCowan and Nathaniel McCowan looked like any other middle-aged couple in Oakland. They were seen together on important occasions, maintaining a facade of normalcy in the public eye. But behind closed doors, cracks were becoming more apparent. Friends close to Laquetha said she had often expressed her frustration with her husband's temper. The control and stress of their marriage had left her on edge. The arguments, even if not public, weighed heavily on her, eroding her spirit over time. Still, Laquetha did not leave the marriage easily. She had intended to find a way out, but like many women in similar situations, Laquetha was held back by both fear and a fragile belief that things would change. In the midst of this spiral, she chose to endure, hoping that peace could return, at least enough to keep the family intact for her children. On the evening of February 25, 2023, Laquetha and Nathaniel McCowan attended a party with close friends. The atmosphere was initially light, with everyone chatting and laughing happily. However, for the two of them, the conflict that had been simmering in their marriage once again arose. Witnesses said that at times, the two exchanged words, causing the atmosphere of the party to sour. After leaving the meeting, they drove home together. But the tension did not subside. On the way home from Oakland, the argument continued, and the atmosphere in the car became heavy and stifling. Sometime after midnight, the car stopped at the Edwards Avenue off-ramp, just off the 580 freeway. Records later showed that Nathaniel dropped Laquetha off there. Amid the empty freeway, the yellow streetlights casting a cold shadow, Laquetha was left on the side of the road. At that time, the road was almost deserted, with only a few vehicles passing by. Not long after the car left, the silence was broken by the sound of gunshots echoing through the night. It was the moment that turned the story from a family quarrel into an irreversible tragedy. At approximately 1:10 a.m. on February 26, 2023, on the Edwards Avenue exit from Interstate 580, a driver suddenly noticed a figure lying motionless on the side of the road. At that moment, the headlights from the car made the scene clearer, causing the driver to immediately realize something was wrong. Without hesitation, the driver quickly dialed 911. In the emergency call, the witness's trembling and urgent voice revealed shock as he described a woman lying motionless on the side of the freeway. The dispatch center immediately dispatched both Oakland police and emergency medical teams to the scene. Minutes later, a patrol car and an ambulance appeared on the deserted stretch of road. Paramedics immediately approached and checked for vital signs, but all they could do was confirm that the woman had died. The victim was identified as Laquetha Humphrey McCowan, 46. The scene left a heavy impression. A middle-aged woman lay alone on the side of the road, without a wallet or phone. All around her were blood stains under the dim streetlights, along with the occasional sound of cars rushing past the highway, creating a picture that was both cold and haunting. The sudden appearance of death on that normally quiet road shocked both witnesses and authorities, opening up a case that no one expected. On the morning of February 26, 2023, shortly after the Edwards Avenue off-ramp was sealed off, the Alameda County forensics team and crime scene investigators began the necessary forensic steps. The work was meticulous, from taking photos and measuring the location of Laquetha Humphrey McCowan's body to taking detailed notes on the blood stains and tire tracks that appeared on the road. Small debris scattered around the area was also collected, ensuring that no useful details were left behind. When the victim's body was transferred to the forensic department, forensic experts conducted an autopsy. The report showed that the cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds at close range. Notably, there were no signs of a violent struggle on the body. This led to the conclusion that Laquetha was attacked suddenly, with little chance of defense. During the process, the forensic team also collected DNA samples and fingerprints from the surrounding area for later identification. At the same time, the scene was sealed to ensure that all evidence was preserved in an intact condition. The autopsy not only determined the cause of death, but also laid the scientific foundation for the entire case file. From there, an initial picture of what happened that tragic night began to emerge, opening up the next steps in the journey to find justice for Laquetha. After the crime scene was sealed off and initial evidence was collected, Oakland Police and the Alameda County Sheriff's Office entered the main phase of the investigation. The goal was to trace the entire journey of the victim and her husband, Nathaniel McCowan, between leaving the party on the evening of February 25 and the time of the incident. Police began by pulling footage from the city's surveillance camera system. Cameras along the 580 freeway, as well as the Edwards Avenue off-ramp, recorded vehicle movements between midnight and dawn. Among them, a vehicle matching the description of the one used by Nathaniel McCowan was seen near the location where the victim was found. The time of the vehicle's appearance coincided with the time witnesses heard gunshots. To further corroborate the findings, the police obtained a warrant to retrieve Nathaniel's phone data. The analysis showed that between 12:45 and 1:00 a.m. on February 26, his phone signal was located in the Edwards Avenue area. This location coincided with the crime scene and the time of the victim's death. This coincidence immediately made Nathaniel the focus of the investigation. In addition to relying on technical evidence, investigators also sought out people who attended the party that night. Many confirmed that they witnessed Nathaniel and Laquetha arguing throughout the party, at times getting into heated arguments in front of their friends. These testimonies suggest that the family atmosphere was already filled with conflict, and that the conflict did not stop after the couple left the party. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The car at the right time and place, the phone signal that Nathaniel was at the scene, and the witness testimony that the couple had had a heated argument before leaving the party. When all these elements were put together, the direction of the investigation became clear. The final result, all the objective evidence from photos to location data to witnesses led directly to Nathaniel McCowan. In the eyes of the investigating agency, he was no longer just a grieving husband, but the prime suspect in a case that shocked the Oakland community. The final result, all the objective evidence from photos to location data to witnesses led directly to Nathaniel McCowan. In the eyes of the investigating agency, he was no longer just a grieving husband, but the prime suspect in a case that shocked the Oakland community. On February 28, 2023, investigators located Nathaniel at a casino in Elk Grove, a city more than an hour's drive from Oakland. The information came from a combination of cell phone data and on-site surveillance reports. When authorities arrived, Nathaniel did not run or resist. He was handcuffed and taken away at the table, in front of many people in the casino. What stuck with investigators was his demeanor. While an arrest situation would normally cause panic or violent reactions, Nathaniel remained remarkably calm. He did not react violently, nor did he attempt to explain himself on the spot. It was this calmness that made his image even more unpredictable in the eyes of the public. A man who had just lost his wife, but appeared at the casino, then was arrested without showing any clear emotion. The arrest of Nathaniel McCowan confirmed the correctness of the Oakland police investigation, opening the stage for prosecution and trial in court. After being arrested in Elk Grove and taken to the Oakland police station, Nathaniel McCowan officially entered the questioning phase. Investigators hoped to get an explanation, or at least cooperation, to clarify what happened on the night of February 25 and 26. Nathaniel's demeanor, however, was surprising. He chose to remain silent in the face of most questions. When asked directly about his presence on Edwards Avenue, Nathaniel simply replied that he didn't remember what had happened. For hours, he did not give any specific testimony, nor did he explain how his phone had been located at the scene. The coldness and refusal to cooperate only made Laquetha's family more angry. They expected a confession or at least a sign of remorse, but what they got was a confusing silence. In the eyes of the community, this attitude only reinforced the suspicion that Nathaniel was responsible for his wife's death. After the investigation and arrest phase, the entire case file is transferred to the Alameda County District Attorney's Office for preparation for prosecution. This is a crucial step because each piece of evidence must be pieced together into a complete picture that is convincing enough in court. Prosecutors did more than just scrutinize the details. They pieced together all the objective evidence, from technical data to testimony and forensic reports, to demonstrate a logical connection that led directly to Nathaniel McCowan. This process created a solid legal foundation, enough to take the case to trial. A formal indictment was filed charging Nathaniel McCowan with first-degree murder. From there, the case moved to a public trial, where all the evidence would be debated and weighed to reach a final verdict. Nathaniel McCowan's trial in Alameda County Superior Court drew a lot of attention from the local community. Throughout the trial, prosecutors focused on proving that this was not just a family tragedy, but a premeditated murder stemming from a long-standing pattern of marital violence. Prosecutors presented the jury with all the evidence they had gathered. traffic camera footage showing Nathaniel's car near the crime scene, cell phone location data matching the time and location of the crime, and forensic results confirming that Laketha died from multiple gunshots fired at close range. In the indictment, they described Nathaniel stopping the car, getting his wife out during an argument, and then immediately following the shooting, all of which were considered a sequence of events that reflected intentionality. Throughout the trial, Nathaniel sat silently, expressionless. He rarely spoke to his attorney and showed little emotion, even when confronted with witness testimony and photographic evidence. This attitude only added to the heavy atmosphere in the courtroom, especially for the victim's family. The defense tried to argue that Laketha's death was the result of an act of rage, not premeditated murder. They sought to have the charge reduced to second-degree murder, emphasizing that Nathaniel had no premeditation and acted on impulse during a heated argument. However, after hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. They found the evidence presented by the prosecution was strong enough to prove premeditation. Nathaniel McCowan was convicted of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, which is considered the maximum sentence the court could impose in the circumstances of the case. As the verdict was read, Laketha's family wept. It was a mix of grief and relief that justice had finally been served. The entire Oakland community that had followed the case felt a dark chapter had closed, though the emotional scars would linger for a long time. The death of Laketha Humphrey McCowan is not just a simple criminal case, but also a tragedy that reflects the fragility of seemingly strong family relationships. A gentle woman, a devoted mother, devoted to her children and family, finally passed away at the hands of the husband she once placed all her trust in. The case sent shockwaves through Oakland and the surrounding area. It reminded people that domestic violence is not always easy to recognize, because it often happens behind closed doors, where it is difficult for outsiders to see. The quiet cracks, the long periods of tolerance, are sometimes the signs that precede an unwanted outcome. In court, justice was served, but outside the courtroom, what remained was the family's grief, the irreparable loss, and the social lesson that remains relevant. The haunting question is, how many people like Laketha are still living in silence, accepting fear in their own homes before tragedy strikes too late?